great to have you on the AIM podcast. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be able to join and connect with you and finally get a chance to do this. We've been talking about this for a while, so I'm excited.
We have, man. I kind of give the listeners a little context of our relationship, man. I was blessed with the opportunity to play with your son this past season at Western Carolina. Super amazing guy. I knew you would be a great guy just based on how he engages with me, and I just was so excited to get to meet you. And then I find out about this platform you've created, man, and it was really, really interesting how a lot of what we're doing with AIM, lines up with what you're doing, man. We're so happy to make this connection.
For sure. And for me as a parent, when you send your first child off to college, the first one, you're always like, hopefully we're doing this right. Hopefully they make friends and don't go up there and, the police don't call within 48 hours, So for him to be able to get there and meet somebody like yourself, with somebody with similar values, similar work ethic, and actually have a direction in life, for him to be able to lock arms with you was huge, and huge peace of mind for my wife and I. Wow. So thank you for taking him under your wing and, forming that partnership, that friendship.
Absolutely. I love Josh. I'm excited to see, his future unfold. He's bound for success, day in and day out. With his strong faith and work ethic, he's going to be amazing.
Amen.
Awesome, man. Well, I think it's cool. Let's just jump in from the very beginning, man. I know you've got a great story to tell. You've done a lot in your life, and you're just getting started. That's how I kind of like to look at it. Like, you have such a great opportunity ahead of you to really impact. But let's just jump from the beginning, man. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, kind of how that set the stage for where you are now, and just kind of walk us through some of those earlier stages of life.
Yeah. So I was born on a farm, man. I was born in a small town in Monroe, North Carolina, and grew up in a single parent home, grew up in poverty. My mom, she started with a tough upbringing. She had my older brother when she was in the 9th grade, so just 15 years old. She got pregnant with him and then had me when she was 20 years old. So that's how it started out, kind of tough. I was kind of born into a tough environment, but she didn't really make excuses. She eventually was able to pull herself together and actually go on to get 2 college degrees, and really pull herself together. But for me, it took me a lot longer to get started. Part of the challenge was I also didn't have my father in my life. It was kind of difficult that he was killed in a tragic car accident when I was just 9 months old. Some idiot drunk driver just hit him in a head-on collision, took my father's life at 24 years old. And so I just kind of grew up misguided. My mom and my grandmother, they tried to do their best to do the best they could with me, but they're working, they're taking care of the farm, and plus I was hard-headed too. I wanted to do my own thing and try to figure out my own way. And by the time I got to middle school and then high school, man, to be honest with you, I was looking for likes and followers way before social media, man. I was just trying to find my way to fit in and get accepted. And what ended up happening is by the time I got to 9th grade, man, I was too turned up. I was like, man, these girls out here, man, they look a whole lot better than these middle school chicks, man. Hey, what's going on, girl? Just thinking about all the wrong things, man. And eventually it caught up to me. By the end of my freshman year, I ended up failing the 9th grade, man. And you want to talk about a major shock to the system. We don't have like any scholars per se in our family. So it's not like academics are like a major thing that we strive for, but nobody wants to fail, a grade, So I ended up having to make some major adjustments and some major self-reflection and kind of change some of the people that I was hanging around. And, I got hooked up with a best friend who had similar core values to me, friend of mine, T, we call him. His name is Thomas, but we call him T. But, we were able to hang out and not get in trouble. We were able to find our own niche, our own lane, and just kind of have a good time without compromising ourselves. So then I got into college age, kind of the stage of life, kind of where you were. And I figured it'd be easier just to start working. I tried to go to college. I actually tried to go twice. So, but I didn't see myself as actually being a college graduate. I think it was the way I actually saw myself. And it wasn't that the work was that difficult. It was just I wasn't willing to put in whatever work was required. So I said, I'm just going to work, and figure it out. And come to find out, with no college degree, no specialized skill, no vocational school, trade school, no nothing, just working. I had to start out with low paying jobs, and so that was tough, man. And then fast forward into getting into started a family, got married, started having kids, and I was like, man, hey, look at all these great things I'm doing. Isn't this amazing? But then you have to manage all that stuff that you get, right? It's amazing how we ask for things, we pray for things, we set these goals, and then you get it. Nobody talks about managing it. So that kind of it kind of threw me for a loop, and I still am trying to figure it out some days. But I eventually got my foot in the door at a life insurance company called Equitable Financial Life Insurance Company. That's where I work now. And that's when things started to kind of change for me. I had a boss who was willing to slow down and mentor me so I could shadow him. I could ask questions. And I was eventually able to, I talk about it in the book some, I actually took a principle that I'd learned at church, take care of the little stuff so the leader can take care of the big stuff. And I was like, you know what, maybe this could work in a corporate environment. And, after about 4 or 5 years, I started just doing some of the stuff that my leader, my boss at the time, he had on his plate. And it taught me two things. It taught me a skill. It taught me how to work myself. And it also taught me how to see big picture. And so Equitable Financial Life Insurance Company, they definitely are part of my story. You want to talk about embracing diversity, equity, and inclusion, somebody who didn't disqualify me because of my skin color. I was able to do the job. And so I filled a need, and I was also able to add some value. So, once I got that position, and then, just looking back, I was like, wow, I actually can do some stuff, and I just wanted to, the book came about how after talking to a mentor, I was like, look, I feel like God wants to do more with my life. I'm not discontent with where I am. I just feel like there was more. You may have had similar feelings to where it's you grow a little bit, right, and you expand what your capabilities are and the way you see yourself, and you're like, I feel like I could do more. So he was like, okay, what do you want to do? And I said, I feel like, I want to kind of speak to people, encourage people, let them know what's possible. Because I was thinking about if I could come from that background, the government assistance, the poverty without having a dad in my life, failing ninth grade and then failing college attempt. Like if I can go through all that slow start to life, knowing that people have gone through way worse, so I'm not creating a sob story, but I just want to inspire others and encourage others. And he was like, well, you need to write a book, and I was like, okay, which one? I thought he said read a book. he was like, no, you need to write a book so people can, look you up. They can know kind of what you stand for. That be your resume, so to speak. So anyway, that's a long answer to that question, but I wanted to be able to hopefully encourage, motivate, and inspire people, man, because I feel like that's part of what I'm on this earth to do.
Well, let me tell you, be the first one to tell you. I'm sure I'm not the first one to tell you. Let me be one to tell you that you're doing it, man. And you're doing it in a lot of people's lives, and mine specifically, man. I see, what you're doing. I'm just so happy for you. And I'm just so inspired, that, with your story, man, what you've been able to accomplish. And like, even you talk about like different stages of life. And I think that's something we could even dive into more. Like something I'm dealing with right now is I'm 22 years old, just graduated college, and we've got this awesome platform we're excited about. But you don't have to have life figured out. You don't have to know everything you're doing at this time. Like there's a lot of pressure on us. And I think that's something you can probably speak on, is just, finding your calling from, hopefully from God, if that's what you believe, and really kind of just putting your efforts into that. So is that something you could advise?
Absolutely. I would say start with something, the floating around and hoping that, success is just going to kick in your door and kidnap you and make you, make you successful, and you have all the hopes and dreams and goals and, relationships or money or whatever success means to you. It's not all about, big houses, cars, and money, but, it's kind of like oxygen, right? You got to have a little bit of money to live. But even if it's relationships, or even if it's, working on yourself, your own personal development, overcoming, some of the challenges and setbacks that you've had in the past. Yes, I would encourage people in the college age stage of life, whether you're going to a traditional 4-year school, or if one of the things that, looking back on it now, this is the other reason why I wrote the book. Many people have said, if I knew then what I know now, right? You probably said that in college, and you're not like starting to get gray hair or anything like that. But, you have to live a little bit, right? And that's the other reason why I wrote the book. I was like, if I could just sit down with someone and kind of have these conversations, in chapter 5, when I write College Flunky, right? If I would have said, okay, if traditional college is not going to work for me, what other education, specialized training, what have you, job shadowing, mentor, what else could I learn, or what other path could I take that maybe is non-traditional, right? That's what I didn't do. I just figured, I went from one extreme to the other. Since it's not going to be traditional school, I'm not going to do any of it, right? So I would encourage people, and I think it was Mark Twain who said, I never let my schooling get in the way of my education. Become a lifelong learner, right? And to find whatever lane that's going to be, whether it's going to be, if you're going the traditional school route, if you're going military route, there is a percentage of people who are like, you know what, college is not in any form of the cards for me right now. I'm just going to work. If you go that route, okay, I've done it. It's doable. I just don't recommend it. So I would say pick a path and go with that path, and give yourself a chance, more than a week, more than a month, more than 2 years, maybe, to see some of the fruit that you've planted, the seeds that you've planted, to give a chance for that fruit to come up. That's what I would say do, and it's okay to change it. It's okay to change it. Many times, you pointed out earlier, you're not sure what that platform might end up being. You're not sure what that calling is. You're not sure that's okay. I don't know anybody in life who's got it all figured out, but I would say pick something and go with it, and evaluate, if it's working, what's not working, get feedback, people who've gone down that path before. That's another huge resource. You have so many different people who are willing to help, but we get so prideful when we're like, nope, don't want to hear anybody's help, no input until I fall flat on my face, then I need help, right? You don't have to wait to that point. Just reach out, man. There's people who want to help you be successful. Absolutely.
No doubt. I'd love to hear, kind of, segue into this topic of just like accepting and embracing the process. And we can talk about it in a couple of ways. We can talk about it with your entire life and your journey up to this point. Obviously, writing the book is a process, but I think this is something you've got a lot of credibility to speak on. I know it's, for people our age, with the rise in social media, there's a lot of instant gratification. There's a lot of people just wanting success at their fingertips. Can you talk about that process of building slowly, just day by day, putting your head down and going to work? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, anything worth having is going to be working. You're going to have to work hard for it. And it's not going to come overnight. There's a quote that says, and it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. 10 years. Okay. Don't just skip to the overnight success part. Think about the 10 years that goes in front of it. Like you mentioned with social media, people think, I'm just going to get on TikTok and go viral. I got this one dope idea. I'm going to record it tonight. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be around the world. Very unlikely. If you look at some of the biggest, I'm going to say content creators, because there's multiple platforms. You got TikTok, you got YouTube, you got Instagram, you got Facebook, you got multiple platforms, right? And there's new ones coming out all the time. So what you have to realize is a lot of those content creators have put out hundreds, sometimes thousands of different videos before one of them goes viral, right? And before we actually started this particular call, you and I were just kind of sharing on best practices. And you were saying with me, like, you didn't have it all figured out when you started, you just started,
Yeah.
right? No guru or no expert is going to know it all. So yes, I would encourage this particular generation, and I've gone through my phase of it too. Like I've tried different ventures, different things, and I'm like, well, if I pay this money, the success is going to show up in a couple of weeks, right? And then, dang it, where's the success at? And what I'm learning is you have to give yourself a chance to try, fail, and adjust. Try, fail, and adjust. And years ago, when I had that when I failed in the ninth grade, it felt like I wore it around like a bodysuit, man. Like I was like, I am a failure. I'm stupid. I can't believe that this happened. And now, when you get out of school, traditional school, and you hear people who are either motivational speakers or people with larger nonprofit companies or Fortune 500 companies, you'll hear them talk about failing forward, failing fast. So what do they realize that many of us try to shy away from? What they realize is you're going to, number one, you're going to fail a lot more than you succeed, right? I'm not a big baseball fan at all. I don't let any of my kids play baseball. I'm a bad dad. You can call it that. But I just hate sitting and waiting for the game to be 4 hours long and it end up being 1-0. But the reason why I bring up baseball is some of your top hitters are like their batting averages are like what, 300 and something percent, 335, or none of them hit 400, right? I might have my numbers off, but my point is, majority of the time they're striking out or getting out. Only 30% of the time they're getting on base or hitting home runs, but they get paid millions of dollars. The point in that is they're going to be unsuccessful a lot more times than they're going to be successful. But there's a culmination effect that takes place when you're working, when you're grinding, you're taking these life experiences. When you're trying, you're failing, and you're adjusting. The reason why they write books like Fail Fast and Fail Forward is understanding that, okay, if I messed this attempt up, okay, I can make an adjustment. I still have the goal set. I make this adjustment, come back, do it again, and then maybe my learning curve has sped up some. And I've learned something. I'm able to reach out and make a connection. Maybe I didn't make any money on this particular time, but I was able to network. Now I got a lifelong mentor or something like that I can shadow behind and learn how to do this better. So yes, the process, I don't love the process. that saying, no pain, no gain, guess what? Nobody loves pain, and our bodies are averse to it, right? But understanding that if I push through it, knowing that my muscles have to be broken down, if I take another athletic analogy, right? Muscles have to be broken down before they can be built up. So things have to be, you have to stay the course. You have to be willing to put in that time, put in that energy, put in that work, and understand that I'm on the way to my goal, and success is not just going to kick in the door and kidnap you.
Hey, it's chapter 2, man. You got to keep showing up.
You have to. That, wow. Chapter 2, when I wrote chapter 2, I was at a time young in my life, right? I was elementary school age. I was sick. I'll summarize it, but I did not want to go to school this one particular day. And it's kind of like on social media now where everybody shows their highlights, right? Everybody, puts filters are bad now. Like people won't take a picture without a filter, right? Like they love their fake pictures. But when we look at other people, we look at their best. And years ago, when I was in school, it seemed like people used to get to stay home for whatever reason. Oh, I have a tummy ache. Okay, they stay home. Oh, I have a headache. They stay home. So it wasn't like that when I was growing up. My mom was like, no, y'all are going to school. And I talk about this particular story in the book where I was like, okay, this one particular day, I'm going to try it. I'm going to see if my mom will let me stay home from school. And part of it was, I wasn't really trying to get over on her, but number one, I wasn't feeling very good at all. Chapter 2 is called Diarrhea Bus. So you can read, you can read into it and see.
My favorite chapter in the book.
Yeah, is it really?
Yeah, I love it.
So I talk about how my stomach was really upset. So I was feeling some pain. And in life, you will feel some pain, some discomfort. So, you know, when people talk about enjoying a process and going to success, it doesn't mean like pretend that there's no pain, right? That's not part of it. It's just persevering through the pain. But as I was feeling bad, one of the things that I heard when other people talked about, they used to stay home with their mom, their dad, what have you. They used to sit on the couch and they used to watch cartoons or Disney movies. They used to have chicken noodle soup, and you know, like they used to get all this pampering. And again, I was young, so I wasn't like 17. So I was still at a young age. I still wanted my mom to kind of pamper me a little bit, but I was really wanting that time to spend with her. I saw she worked so hard. She was providing for the family, and I wanted to just be able to stay home. So I'm sitting there on the potty this one particular day. I got it all mapped out. I figured my mom's going to walk into the bathroom. I'm going to give her this sob story. She can see that I'm sick, and maybe it's going to work out. And when she came into the bathroom that particular day, you know, more than 50% of communication is nonverbal. We use our bodies, our hand gestures, face gestures, whatever. It wasn't so much as what she said, it was how she said it. And the look on her face, her intensity in her eyes. And she also said, "You're going to school today." And I was like, "But Mom, you know, my stomach, I'm sick." She's like, "No, you're going to school today." And I believe what she was trying to communicate to me was like right now, when I am married, I have my own family. When I have 5 kids, when they're getting to college age, and when they want to quit, when they want to give up, she was trying to instill something into me years ago that I was going to need when it was time to get the corporate position without the college degree, when it was time to write the book at 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, when you don't feel like writing a freaking book, but you know it's going to help people and it's also going to help you. She was trying to tell me, look, just keep showing up and resolve it in your mind that you're not going to quit. You're going to need this. And that's one of the things that I want to communicate to other people, that if you can't do anything else, get to the spot and just keep showing up. Get there physically, then you can at least get there mentally. There's levels to just keep showing up. But yeah, chapter 2, just keep showing up, resolve it in your mind. I will not quit.
Man, oh my gosh, you're giving me chills, man. That's a powerful message. And it is my favorite for a lot of reasons. One of the biggest things I see, or you and I can relate a lot, I was, not getting into my whole story, man, but I grew up and, my dad wasn't much in the picture. We didn't have a great relationship, but my mom, and she believed in me. And it gives me cold chills thinking about it, man. When someone believes in you that much, you can't let them down. And I see that the point is there is to keep showing up, man. But your mom believed in you, and she knew you were destined for great things. And like that, there is so much power in believing in people, man, and just continuing to show up, man. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I'll tell you a quick story. I was on the way to a speakers conference to learn how to speak better, and there was going to be a chance for people to do their pitch or do their version of their speech, and then they would get feedback, right? And I'm working on this particular story, a mini version of High School No Fool, before I even had the book, right? Before the book was even a concept. It was like a few months before that, before I'd had the conversation that led to the meeting that led to the book. But I'm thinking about, for some reason, as I'm saying, I'm telling the story about my mom, I'm telling the story about Diarrhea Bus. This was already in the speech, even though it wasn't in the book. For some reason, I finally felt, as best as I can feel what she felt. As a dad now, and I have my own kids, I finally got it. I finally got what she was trying to communicate to me. And honestly, man, I got emotional. I was like, holy cow, like to see her, if I could try to put myself in her position, she didn't have a husband. She's raising two kids. She's got one that's wanting to stay home. Now, look, if she stays home, this is going back years ago. Okay, I'm not in my 20s like you are, Doug. This is going back, over 30 years ago. So this is during a time period where if you don't show up to work, you don't get paid. So let's say, for example, she says, okay, I will stay home with you. Now she's getting paid less money. Okay, how long are we going to stay home? We're going to stay home a day, a week? How long is this going to drag out? So now I'm cutting into the grocery budget. So how sick are you? Right now, and I know I was the younger son, so she had my brother before me. She had seen what sick looked like, right? This wasn't her first time seeing a sick child, right? But she saw that I wasn't as sick as I wanted to be in my mind. And this is part of what happens when you want to quit. In your mind, you make the situation way bigger than what it is. A lot of times we focus so much on the negative. We focus on my stomach hurts so bad, therefore I cannot go on. Really? Cannot? Or don't want to? Or, man, my coach is on my head, or my boss is on my head, or my parents are on my head. Man, I can't go on. This situation is so big, so difficult. And the reason why I got emotional that particular day is I truly believe that she wanted to stay home. However, it's the lesser of two evils, right? Do I stay home and almost make my son, think about how this is different if she got into a routine by keeping me home and pampering me. There's no keep showing up. Yeah. There's no chapter 2 in this book. There could possibly be no book at all. There possibly could be no corporate position without a college degree. My story is completely different. You see what I mean? So that's the other point of going back into your question before, when you were talking about embracing the process. And you don't have to love it, but you do have to love yourself and your loved ones enough to go ahead and persevere through it. And the people, especially the people that are believing in you, the people that are investing in you, right? You want to give them a return on their investment. So you got to keep showing up.
So good, man. That gives me chills, man. I love that one. This is going to be a hard question for you, probably, I would expect, but out of all the principles you teach in the book, all the life lessons, is there one that surfaces to the top? You're like, man, this is the one. Like, if you had to take away one, what would you say is your top lesson out of the whole book?
If I was going to say one, I'm going to say, I'm going to do 1A and 1B, right?
All right.
1A is going to be chapter 3. And chapter 3 talks about having my relationship with God personally. I know not everybody has that same belief. Some people believe in God, the universe, different things. Some people believe in nothing. For me personally, just developing a faith in a higher power, that because when life does get bigger than you, then where do you go? Right? If you have an infinite and all-powerful source that you can tap into, that you can go and you can be open and you can just put yourself out there, you can be transparent, and being able to have a source like that you can tap into, that's me. That's where my default is. Like when the world gets too big, and also when things are good, I'm just like, wow, man, just gratitude. That's my 1A. And then 1B would definitely be keep showing up, because that's my, when I couldn't do anything else, when I was failing classes, when I was not academic, when I just kept coming back. I just kept coming back. And it's almost like the Rocky IV, when he defeats Ivan Drago, he just keeps getting his butt whooped, but he keeps getting up. You know what I mean? And so many times in life that you have to be willing to keep coming back. And even if your goal changed, if your platform changes, if your calling, if you will, if your career changes, if these things keep changing, understand that you are the central character in your life story. So you have to keep showing up with your body physically, with your mind, with your emotions. You have to be the one that's saying, I'm going to figure out what my life looks like for this particular season. Who knows what's going to happen 10 years down the road? Who knows what's going to happen 5 years down the road? But I'm going to still keep showing up for myself so I can provide my best self to others. You got to keep showing up.
That's awesome. I love the Rocky reference in there, man. That's a big time reference.
It's a classic, isn't it? You know,
It's a classic, but it's honestly so true. And I think the fastest way somebody loses is giving up. And
no doubt.
like you mentioned earlier, I love that concept of failing forward, and it's like learning from those times where you might not win, but when you show up every day over the course of the duration of time, you're gonna win. You're gonna win a lot, and you're gonna be successful. And that's what's so cool about your story, man. And you've done it at a high level, and you've set a great path for a lot of us youngins people to follow, man. So I'm excited to see where you continue to go.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. And it's been a process, and it's taken time. The one thing that I did not realize when I was trying to fit in younger, and school and influence and friends, they're huge. And chapter 4, I talk about your circles, if you will, and who you hang with determines how high you fly or how low you sink. So being intentional about who you're hanging around. So when I was in middle school and high school age, I just wanted anybody to hang around me, right? Especially the girls. I was like, if I was hanging around the hot girls, I felt like I was the man, right? But it's almost like I sold myself a little bit just wanting to be accepted, right? So I had not established my own core values and got to the place where I'm like, look, if I have to stand alone, I'm going to be willing to do that. But what we don't realize is there's always a handful of people, may not be the majority, but it's always a handful of people that's going to have similar values to you. May not be the exact same, but some people that you can kind of just chill with, you know what I mean? And I wasn't intentional about who I was hanging with in the younger days. So because of that, more negative stuff was rubbing off on me more so than I was giving out to them. I didn't realize how much negative I was picking up. I was hanging around dudes that could care less about going to school. Like they would literally come to school and sleep in class, if they would come to class. And I'm trying to get them to laugh, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to hang around them. But now I'm realizing the importance of mentors, or the importance of having somebody who you can shadow, the importance of someone who, and that's the benefit of social media. You have a lot of people who are actually putting out really good, solid content. When you think about ambition in mind, right? You're actually trying to help people focus on their mental game and to help them, right? There are people like yourself who are actually putting out good content. So if you don't have, sometimes your circles can be tough. Sometimes you might live in an inner city, and on every corner you go to, you live in the hood. It's hard to change your environment when you're 13, 14, and you can't just get in your car. You can't drive, right? You're not working. So, but many of them do have access to a phone, or they have a TV or something positive that they can start to put in their mind. So if sometimes your mentors, you might not ever meet them, but you can say, this person is, they're trying to do something with their life. They're trying to spread a positive message. Let me listen to what they're saying so I can start changing my own mindset and let them mentor me from a distance. And, it's ideal if you can get around them, you can see them face to face. Again, what my boss did for me, man, it was huge. So that's why I try to be able to give back in some way that's similar.
I love that. And, I'm personally, I'm so grateful God's blessed me abundantly in that respect of, our AIM team is outstanding. They're all like-minded people just trying to help people, just like, you're developing the same approach, trying to be that positive light and, be that community that people need. And it's so exciting, man. I want you to talk to us just a little bit about where you're headed kind of with this whole deal. I know you've got a great job, you're leading and you're being a light in that respect, but also you've got this book out. I know you're getting into the public speaking scene. Talk to, give us a little bit of light on kind of your goals and where you're headed with all of this.
Yeah, I think continuing the conversation with diversity, equity, and inclusion. There are some stories out there that are necessary to be told, but they can be kind of hard to, make sure my camera didn't go out. You still there? Yep.
Sure.
Okay. They can be, they're necessary to be told, but sometimes they're kind of hard to digest. And for whatever reason, they're hard to, because people are sharing their pain. So it's like, it's hard to, when you go into that conversation, it's hard to kind of turn it down, so to speak. Because if you ask the question, you're like, okay, if you really want to hear this, I'm about to tell you. You know what I mean? So my story, fortunately, my story is a very positive one. You know, positive in the sense that, again, the company that I work for didn't disqualify me because of the color of my skin. We do live in the South here, right? And going back years ago, people weren't as open to people with different skin colors. You know what I mean? It's just calling it what it is. And so for the fact that I had a chance to be on the positive end of that, none of my managers were Black. So it wasn't like I was a benefit or a recipient of somebody looking out for me because I had the same skin tone or same skin color. You know, mine is a positive one. So what I want to continue to do is I want to continue to encourage, motivate, and inspire from a speaking platform. I do have a second book that I have in the works. It's in draft mode. So I want to continue, you know, becoming, you know, just using a platform that's God has given me, man. I would have never thought, I was barely reading books, much less writing books. But once it's written, it's historical, right? You don't have to go back and rewrite it. You can, but to me, that meant something to actually come from, again, that's why the book is called High School No Fool. The high school was the area where so many big time decisions are made. You think about it, a lot of times that's where you get your first job, right? When you're in high school, get your first car, right? A lot of times you have that first real girlfriend, right? Not the fourth grade girl, like where we're going out. Like, where are you going? You can't go anywhere. You're in fourth grade. But so many big time decisions happen then. You decide, am I going to go to college? Am I not? There's so many big time decisions that happen in the high school age. And to think that someone who wasn't a traditional academic, right, was able to come out years later and publish a book, man, it was a big time accomplishment for me. And so that's the next thing I want to continue doing. I was able to go back recently to my high school and speak to students there for academic signing day, kids who were deciding to go to college. And again, give my best version of, look, if I could do then if I knew then what I know now, you can't do that, but this is my best version of it. Look, you're going to have to keep showing up. It's not going to be easy. Keep working, but you can do it. So that's the message I want to continue with High School No Fool. Let's
go. I'm pumped, man. I'm excited for you. I'm just thrilled to, you know, support you in any way, you know, that we can, where you love your platform. And on behalf of the whole entire platform of Ambition and Mind, we can't wait to continue to, you know, promote you and do stuff with you, man, because we love your message. And there's nothing better than finding people that have a genuine heart to serve and just want to make the world a better place. And that's what you're doing, man. So thank you for being on the podcast today, man. It's been a pleasure having you, and so excited for you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. And continue doing what you're doing. To be college age, where there's a lot of college kids doing a lot worse, you know, so to be able to manage, I know you've recently graduated, right? So, but you are balancing sports and graduating and starting a business. The benefit that you have is you're not getting out and like, okay, I got this degree, now what, right? You've already started. You've already hit the runway, so to speak, and taken off. So keep doing what you're doing, man. I believe in people like yourself, and you never realize how much influence that you have. So you're doing great work. So keep doing it, man.
Thank you, man. All the glory to God, man. Let's keep serving him.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, man. Thank you so much, man. We've really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Doug. I appreciate it.